that once Donald Trump is done playing president, he and the Bush dynasty are taking the country back. What a bunch of bullcrap that nobody wants. On top of that, we've got Hakeem Jeffries caught in a lie about Obamacare. To help me go through this and more, I have Sara Gonzales. Sara, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on with you.
It's been too long.
Yeah, it has.
So Sara Gonzales is a journalist over at The Blaze. She's also the host of the Sara Gonzales Unfiltered show. Want to get your thoughts on this. So House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, he's been lying about Jeffrey Epstein. He's been lying about the lockdown. Now he's lying about different women in Congress. And now he's been caught in an Obamacare lie where he was called out because they are trying to make Americans mad, poorer, and blame Donald Trump for Obamacare. Let me show you a clip.
To satiate, if you want to get done, you are going to need at least some Republicans to come over. Why not start with a 1-year extension or potentially even a 2-year extension?
Well, Leader Schumer offered a 1-year extension in the context of trying to end the Trump Republican shutdown.
Yeah, but that's different. But I'm talking about what you have now. Let's not go back to what's done in the past and what has not been extended. If you want to get something that has actually done, you need to do something that will have bipartisan.
You can ask me the question. You can ask me the question. I'll provide the answer.
Answer the question instead of going back.
I'll provide the answer. No. I'm providing an answer in order to provide context. Republicans have repeatedly refused to take yes for an answer. It was a very reasonable multi-year extension that was offered. It was a 1-year straight extension plus a multi-year process through a bipartisan commission to more permanently resolve the Affordable Care Act issue. So having that context is absolutely important, regardless of what you may think.
It's important context to make me realize that I don't think you want to get a deal done. I think this is something where you'd like to see the rates go higher and allow the Republicans to hang themselves with that. Is that the answer?
That's absolutely a ridiculous assertion. And really, shame on you.
3 years is not going to get passed, so what do you do?
Shame on you for saying that. Because we're fighting. It's not a partisan issue for us. In fact, the states that are most impacted as it relates to an Affordable Care Act tax credit expiration are all Republican states. We're talking about West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, right? Tennessee. Over and over and over again, we can go through the list. That's why you probably have
some Republicans who would sign on if you guys could come up with something that actually looks like a bipartisan deal.
Listen, this is not a partisan fight for us. It's a patriotic fight.
Oh, it's a patriotic fight. Your thoughts on that, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I love to hear the Democrats talking about being patriotic. They are the most America-hating people to ever exist. So it's so rich to hear that coming from them. Listen, you know it's bad. You know it's really bad for their party when you have the mainstream media, you have CNBC, you have MSNBC, you have CNN actually asking them tough questions. I mean, you could see the look on that woman's face. She was not buying any of what he was trying to sell her. But the most laughable part to me about all of this nonsense, which, I mean, of course he was lying. Of course, everything they do is just political maneuvers. Just the ends justifies the means for these people, which is what we saw with the government shutdown. I mean, they didn't care who suffered. They said it out loud. They said, we know families will suffer. It's just that it's the only leverage we have. I mean, they were saying it. This is not me putting words in their mouth. They said it. But with respect to Obamacare, it's just so funny that we're supposed to trust the people who broke it to fix it, right? Like, this was their thing. This was Barack Obama's legendary policy. This was his legacy, was Obamacare, aka the Affordable Care Act. And now here we have, all these years later, we're supposed to trust the Democrats to fix the system. We're supposed to trust that we have to wait until they come up with their plan and they're not going to come to our side of things when they're the ones who broke it. I mean, it's just absolutely totally laughable. Of course they don't. I mean, they're the ones who got us into this mess. Of course we shouldn't trust them with the solution. But I mean, to that anchor's point, it's like you can't possibly pretend like this is for America or Americans, or you're trying to do something other than get to your political ends by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, and she correctly points out, if you guys really wanted this deal to be done, it would be something short term. But what you're trying to do is make red states suffer. You're trying to make people poorer, and you're trying to blame Donald Trump for your mess. He admits right there, this is our mess. But then she says, why on earth would you put forward a 3-year tax credit if you really wanted to solve this problem? And then he goes on with the gibberish about how they're the only ones patriotically trying to solve the healthcare crisis that they caused.
Exactly. You're exactly right. It's pretty gross that they would even suggest that this is, the Republican shutdown, Trump's shutdown. I mean, you heard all of the garbage coming from them at the time. President Trump doesn't care about starving children. I mean, all of the stops that they were putting out, when in actuality, if you look at what they were trying to do, it was just line the pocketbooks of all of these insurance companies. I mean, there were all of these subsidies that they wanted to continue giving to all of these insurance companies, these COVID era subsidies that they wanted these insurance companies to continue to get. It was interesting. I had Congressman Chip Roy on my show not that long ago. It was when the government first shut down, and it just so happened that he was already going to be in town, and so I was able to talk to him about it. And he said, "Well, here's the dirty little secret nobody wants to talk about." And when he explained that part of it to me, he's like, "These are COVID era subsidies, most of them. I mean, they did want the healthcare for illegals, but on top of that, these are COVID era subsidies that were supposed to sunset, that the Democrats want to continue funding all of these insurance carriers, all of these insurance companies." And I was like, man, you're right. That is really dirty of them to do. And then to blame President Trump for it on top of that is just, it's really reprehensible behavior.
It is. They know that this 100% falls on their shoulders and that it looks really bad. So they're just doing spin, like PR ninja level spin, but the American people aren't buying it. It's not called Trump care. It's Obamacare. This is your problem, and it's no longer affordable. Even Trump said this is unaffordable. So unless you guys come up with a solution that saves people money, the only thing I'm willing to sign at my desk is money going directly to the people. He's sick and tired. I mean, he's come out and said, look at big insurance. They're up 1,000% on their stock, and yet people can't afford. I mean, people have insurance premiums now that are mortgage payments. Yeah, it's absolute insanity. Now you've got the Bush family taking a stab at President Trump after not supporting him the first term, after being silent when he ran against Biden, and then when he ran against Kamala, they literally said nothing. Now they're saying when he steps down after his second term, the Bush family, led by George W. Bush, is going to reclaim the Republican Party. I think a snowball left in hell has a better chance of taking over the Republican Party than George Bush. Your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree with you, Stephen. The Bush dynasty is dead. Okay. It is never to return again. Americans, by and large, have decided. And by the way, I say this as someone, I want to be completely transparent. When George W. Bush was president, I was quite a bit younger, obviously, and very naive. And I thought at the time, oh, well, it's like, he's so cute. He's like a cute little grandpa. And it's so cute. And then in hindsight, I'm like, what the heck were we thinking putting that guy in charge? I mean, the fact of the matter is, even here in the state of Texas, the Bushes have tried to take back power. They tried to run a Bush for attorney general. They always have their candidate here. One of them was a Bush the last go around. And what happened was Texans resoundingly said, we're done with you guys. We're done. You guys have this neocon policy where you want to be involved in forever wars and you want to send our money everywhere except here in America. And we're just done with it. We are America first now. I'm sorry you didn't get the memo, but we're not going back to this, 2000 neocon era where everything is about every other country. We have real problems here in this country. We have housing that is unaffordable for many young Americans. We have veterans who need taken care of. We have illegals that we need to get out of our country so that the price of things can go down. I mean, we have very real problems here. We don't need another neocon Bush dynasty to happen. I think this is so tone deaf. I think they are so arrogant. They live in their own little elitist bubble that they can't comprehend. They can't fathom that the everyday American is just done with all of the garbage that they peddled for so long. There's no way this ever happens.
Yeah. I'm with you. I used to really like George Bush.
Yeah.
And then as I've gotten older, I've like, okay, well, maybe he was lied to and misled into these wars. But the fact that he was the president and the weapons of mass destruction, the fact that we spent trillions of dollars, that we went into Afghanistan, lost all of this money and people, and literally, as RFK Jr. said, we spent $9 trillion on war. And what did we get for it? Nothing. So, regardless, but I did think the timing of this was interesting, right? So you got VP Dick Cheney that they finally put in the ground. Right after the funeral, Bush announces that we're going to make a comeback into Republican politics. I thought, I don't know that it means anything. I just thought the timing was really weird. That like, what have you been waiting for the Cheney dynasty to die so that you could come out and say, actually, that's the guy that led us into war and he made Halliburton, a lot of money. And I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't, like you said, I just don't see them coming back to power.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you mention the timing with Dick Cheney's funeral, and let's talk about the Cheney family themselves. I mean, how well did it work out for Liz Cheney when she decided to announce that she was going to run again after leading Donald Trump's impeachment? I mean, I'll look no further than how it ended up working for her, because the Bush Cheney, I mean, insert whatever neocon name you'd like, Romney, insert whatever neocon name you'd like here. It's going to end all the same for them. And we have that has already happened as an example with Liz Cheney. I don't know who in the world they think that they're going to run. But like I said, here in the state of Texas, which is obviously where they live, they've already tried that multiple times. And it's just not going to work. We are so far past it. And I would say also, Stephen, it's about darn time. It is about darn time for Americans to wake up and stop prioritizing all of these other interests, to wake up and get involved and say, what are our leaders doing to us? Why are our leaders sending billions of dollars to fund a war halfway across the world? I'm never going to see that money again. My children are never going to see that money. My children's children are never going to see that money. And I think that it's refreshing to finally, it feels like we are on the precipice of changing the conservative movement, of changing the Republican Party for the better. And it's pretty funny to see that I guess they're the last ones to get the memo, because they're busy, at Martha's Vineyard and all of these other places, all of these very wealthy old school Republicans live. I guess they didn't get the memo that we've moved on from that.
Yeah. Yep. We absolutely have. Now, you brought up earlier about life becoming expensive. It's become so bad that Democrats now have to steal $5 million from FEMA just to get along. So this is Representative Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, a Democrat out of Florida. She's been indicted for stealing $5 million of FEMA funds. Hakeem Jeffries, who I don't really care for, at least did the right thing and stripped her from her position on one of the important congressional chairs. She's going to go to jail for 53 years. And to give you guys some context on how much $5 million is, that's 83 years of her congressional salary. That's 100 years of the average American working 40 to 50 hours a week for an entire year. It's 100 years of that she stole. But does it shock you that a Democrat stole $5 million from American taxpayers?
It doesn't shock me at all. I mean, I think that we can look no further than the way that they reacted to Doge, right? I mean, we had Elon Musk leading this opportunity to root out all of this waste and fraud and corruption. And what did we hear from the Democrats? They didn't want that. They were protesting. They were marching up to the Department of Education, trying to open the doors to, I don't know what they were going to do to physically stop them. I don't know. But just watch how they squawk, how they're so outraged. They yell and they scream and they cry whenever we talk about rooting out the waste and the fraud and the corruption, because they're the criminals. I mean, you have all of it. You have, who is it now? Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff and Letitia James, all now being investigated for mortgage fraud. These are criminals. And now I will say, Stephen, I hope this woman, I know she hasn't been convicted yet. I hope she serves every single one of those 53 years, because we need to start throwing the book at these people. I don't want a hearing. I don't want a testimony on Capitol Hill. I want actual prison time for these criminals as soon as we have the evidence to hang them, because for far too long, they have walked around thinking that they could just take whatever they want, steal whatever they want from the American taxpayer, and nobody would ever call them out on it. And I'm just done with it. Everyone, I mean, I don't have to tell you how much you're paying out of your taxes to fund all of this crime, to fund to fund drag shows in Peru, to fund all of this ridiculous nonsense, to have a Democrat on top of that think that she is entitled to $5 million of our money is just, I mean, it's par for the course, honestly, with these people.
Yeah. I mean, one of the largest fraud in American history was the $200 million of COVID money stolen by the Somalian Democrats under Tim Walz. He approved all of that money. And then what did they do? They just shipped it right off to Africa and brought even more people. It's wild. Okay, speaking of crime, I mean, I don't mean to crap all over the Democrats, but my goodness, they just make it so easy. They make it so easy. You're wearing a Charlie Kirk Freedom shirt.
Yes.
One of the last stories that I covered while Charlie was alive was a story that he brought to life of Irina Zarutska, this Ukrainian woman who was stabbed to death on a train in North Carolina by someone who had been released 14 times. Well, now in Chicago, a Democrat woke judge who released a man 49 times. He went on a train in Chicago and lit a young woman on fire. Nobody did anything. They were panicked. She has now passed. And this is insane. How long are we going to pretend that criminals deserve our love and our kindness and not the victims? 49 times you've been arrested and released, and now somebody's dead, and it comes out that it's these Democrat judges going, well, these poor criminals, they might be hungry. They we don't know what their childhood is. Yeah, you're right. We don't. But we do know that they've been arrested 49 times and they're no longer trustworthy in society. Your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, it really is. It's why President Trump got elected in November, right? Because Americans were tired of seeing this. Americans were tired of there not being law and order in their cities. They're tired of all of these violent criminals continuing to be released. I mean, you have all of these Democrats who, let's face it, when someone, Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And I fully agree with that. I think it's such a great quote because it's so true. And here's what Democrats have shown us. They have shown us that they want to be able to, as you just mentioned, they want to be able to take your taxpayer money. They want to steal from you. They want to take your guns. They want to leave you defenseless. They want to defund your police departments. And while they're doing all of those things, they want to release violent criminals into your streets so you have absolutely nobody to turn to except big daddy government. I mean, this is all part of their plan is, hey guys, you're not going to be safe in your streets and you're not going to have anything that you can do about it except maybe call us and we might help you, we might not, but we're going to be the ones to control you at the end of the day. That's obviously what they want. I mean, what I would like to see happen is I would like for there to be laws passed that give these judges, whoever it is in the system that is releasing these people, continuing to release these violent criminals into our streets, continuing to run cover for them. I would like for them to, at a certain point, become responsible for whatever crimes these criminals go on to commit. So if they're going out and they're committing murder, I would like for those people in the system who are responsible for these criminals, for releasing them, I would like for them to have some sort of a criminal ramification, a criminal charge that they actually have to deal with, because the fact of the matter is they have infiltrated this in this system, the judicial system especially. I mean, you saw it with the 91 indictments of Donald Trump, the 34 felony counts. You saw it with all of the lawfare that they have waged against him even after he came into office. They said you're not allowed to deport illegal gang members. You're not allowed to fire people as the head executor. I mean, they have decided to infiltrate in the judicial system so that they could subvert the American people. They could subvert law and order at every way possible. This is just one of those ways. I just would like to see some sort of accountability for all of these judges who have blood on their hands.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre to me. Like, I've never been arrested. I hope I never am arrested. But you would assume after 49 arrests, you would go, okay, can we trust this person to be in society? After 14 arrests, can we trust this person to be in society? There was another one where the person was arrested 23 times. Then he sneaks in, strips a girl naked, and like basically decapitates her. I think he had been arrested 23 previous times. I mean, this is crazy. This is what Elon Musk calls suicidal empathy, where literally we have these Democrat judges that they have more sympathy for the criminal than for the victim. I just don't think it can go on much longer.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. And I will just point out, I do believe that it is all by design, because if you look at how they threw the book at all of these January 6ers who simply marched around the Capitol, they didn't commit any violent crime, they didn't vandalize anything. They were in certain times led by, the Capitol Police. They were given a guided tour of the Capitol by the Capitol Police, didn't show any signs of any sort of, violent behavior. And they were over there in solitary confinement for literal years. And yet you have someone who's committing violent crimes who's let out that many times. And when you see that stark contrast, I just have no other anything to glean from that other than this is all intentional and by design, to prove a point, to send a message to you.
Yeah. Okay. This is something that's been bothering me, and I don't want to badmouth anybody because I like Dan Bongino and I like Kash Patel. And I know that they inherited a broken FBI. So I'll give them that, right? But we've got, we're finding out that the January 6th insurrection was largely led by hundreds of FBI agents pretending to be MAGA. We're finding out that they can't seem to get to the bottom of the January 6th pipe bomber. Mm-hmm. We're finding out all of these different things. Tucker Carlson does a deep dive on Thomas Matthew Crooks. They tell us we can't get into his phones, no online presence. Tucker Carlson blows that out of the water, showing that, wait a minute, he had an online presence everywhere. And then people wonder why they're questioning the Charlie Kirk story with being given very little evidence and information. What are your thoughts on the FBI? I don't know. I feel like we're supposed to be restoring trust. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they're protecting the agency by not throwing the old agency under the bus, right? Like, this reminds me of Jesus when he says, listen, you can't put new patches on old wine bottles. Mm-hmm. It'll just break. You can't put a new patch on an old pair of pants. It'll just tear. I don't know. Your thoughts on where we're at with the FBI?
Yeah, I think that the FBI and the DOJ have been the most disappointing part of this new Trump 2.0 administration for me. We were promised all of these things. Pam Bondi was like, we're going to release the Epstein files. Practically day one, you had the FBI, you had Kash Patel, who mentioned also the Epstein files. Oh, I know exactly where they are. I know exactly where the black book is. And, basically insinuating if we get back into power, we're going to burn the whole thing down, with Americans agreeing that was what needed to happen in order to preserve any sort of dignity with these organizations. And unfortunately, what you've seen is just more of the same. I mean, I feel like it's a lot of, new boss is the same as the old boss with respect to all of these investigations, with respect to the J6 pipe bomber. I mean, that in and of itself, our very own Steve Baker here at Blaze TV has done tremendous work sifting through hours and hours and hours of surveillance footage, and everything with every other piece of the onion that he's peeling back, it just creates more questions than answers. You know, you have security cameras that accidentally were turned the wrong way and couldn't catch certain people. I mean, it's just too much. And with respect to the Thomas Crooks thing, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's another one that we're seeing more of the same. There are just too many things that don't make sense. It doesn't make sense that Thomas Crooks had a YouTube account username with his, it just said Tom Crooks, right? He's not like using some alias. It's his name. He's going on YouTube. He's calling for the assassination of political leaders. He is talking about very violent things. He's talking about rebellion. He's talking about all of these things, which, by the way, he's talking about after he has had some very weird switch during 2020 where he was very pro-Trump and then all of a sudden he was very anti-Trump and wanted him to die. And you mean to tell me the same FBI who could track down every single person who was in DC on January 6th can't find a guy named Tom Crooks who's making all of these violent threats? He never got reported. He never got sent to the FBI. And on top of that, he went to Butler, Pennsylvania that day. He went to the rally that, remember, Capitol Police accidentally just didn't include the building he climbed on their little map to surveil because it was too hot and too slopey. Right? Like, I mean, it's preposterous. You get to a certain point where it just becomes preposterous that nobody knew anything about it, that he wasn't on anyone's radars, that they didn't see him there that day with the rangefinder, which of course we know that happened. He walked up with the rangefinder and they're like, sir, you can't bring that in there. We're not playing golf over here, right? Like, why else would he have a rangefinder? At a certain point, it just becomes absurd to expect Americans to buy that the FBI had no idea about any of these things, that the FBI wasn't just in on a lot of these things. And it would go a lot further for Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, two people whom I really do truly like. It would go a lot further for the American people, for them to just come out and say, listen, there's a lot of files. It condemns a lot of people. We're trying to sift through it, right? Like, just tell us that we're right. Don't gaslight us. Don't tell us, trust us, bro. Trust us. We've seen it. Trust us. It's just enough with the gaslighting. At a certain point, it just becomes, you expect me to believe the unbelievable. And it's just insulting to the average American's intelligence.
Yeah, it is. And it breaks trust, right? Because we were told that they would be the most transparent FBI, that they were going to rebuild it, make all these changes. Like, I get that you don't want to throw your crew under the bus, but
right.
Like, why was Christopher Wray pretending to be insulted that the FBI might be involved on January 6th? And then after he's gone, we learn about the first 26, and then we learn about the next couple hundred. Like,
exactly.
Why isn't he being brought in and saying, you know, why did you use, I can't talk about that, it's an open investigation line, when really you knew for a fact? Like, literally, there was a memo that went out that I covered on my show that the FBI literally said, there were so many of you at the FBI, we've lost count. We need you to raise your hand so that we can pay you. Like, that was a story that came out. And that was before we found out about there being several hundred plainclothed, fake MAGA people out there. So I don't know. It's disappointing, because I had Kash Patel on my show several times, and I don't believe him to be a bad guy. But if you keep covering up for even, like, this is what I would say. I had to say this to a coworker one time. Like, listen, what you're dealing with right now is not your fault, but because you're in this position, it now becomes your responsibility, right?
Yes.
So you can say, listen, I'm not Christopher Wray. I'm not James Comey. Here's what they did. It's bad. Here's where I'm reforming. But when you don't throw them under the bus, or you don't tell the truth, you're now covering up the lies that we're so mad at them about.
Yeah, you're complicit now, right? You are complicit in all of what was happening behind the scenes. You are now complicit in, if you are continuing to cover it up, run cover for them. And I have a major warning for these federal officials within the Trump administration, is that there was a very a large growing sentiment within young people, within Gen Z. I talked to a lot of them. I've been traveling the state here in the state of Texas with Attorney General Ken Paxton, speaking to these Turning Point campuses or campus events. And there was a growing sentiment among young people that they saw what the FBI under Biden was doing. They saw what the DOJ was doing. They saw that they were just allowing all of these illegals in. They saw that they were weaponizing every single government agency against conservatives, against half the country. They saw all that happening. And they saw all of the hiding and all of the secrets and all of the orchestration behind the scenes, and they didn't like it. And that was part of the reason that Gen Z swung so hard conservative this last presidential election, is because they were promised, as you mentioned, they were promised transparency. And I am very concerned that if they don't start getting that, you have this voting bloc in these young people, and they're going to be too dissuaded and unsatisfied with the fact that we did not deliver on these results. And they're going to look at the cost of things. They're going to look at the fact that they can't own a home, and they're going to be very tempted by the Zohran Mamdanis of the world, who are offering them free stuff. And I'm very, very worried and concerned that if we don't give them some of that transparency and some of that accountability that they voted for, that they're going to swing the other way. And if they do, we are in very dangerous territory.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Because I mean, think how many people in your life that you've met that are like, I'm a Reagan Republican, right? Like Reagan had such an influence on them that all these decades later, that's the reason that they either joined or they stay or whatever. Trump has that opportunity right now where, 10, 20, 30 years from now, they might be like, I'm a Trump Republican, right? I'm still MAGA. Like we need that to keep going. So I know that, Trump walked into a million different problems on the foreign stage and even on the domestic. I feel like he's done a good job, but there are many areas where I think the American people are now like, okay, put on your blinders and let's get really focused on America, making life affordable, making America great, making us healthy. Get back to those campaign promises. And I think we still got a great 3 years ahead of us. Your final words.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's something that I have been trying to sound the alarm on before the midterms is, guys, we cannot lose the majority here. The Democrats will try to prevent us from making any headway at every turn, at every opportunity they get if they win majority in any of these areas. So we really need to be careful. I've been having these people to talk about health insurance and how to bring the cost down, and the economy and how to right the ship, because I've been talking to them because I've been trying to explain to people we have to keep talking about this. We can't just win the election and just go on our merry way as if there's nothing else to do. We've got to do this. We've got to get serious about it before the midterms, because you saw what happened the last time Donald Trump was president and the Democrats had any part of the power, whether it be the House or the Senate. They will do everything they can just to orange man bad, stop him from making any progress. And then we get nowhere. And then people become more disgruntled. We really, really need to start talking about the economy, start really coming up with actual real life solutions for all of these Americans who are very frustrated that prices haven't come down. And by the way, while doing that, Stephen, just my final point on that, while doing that, make sure to remind people this wasn't President Trump's doing, right? Like, he's only trying to solve the problems that Joe Biden got us into. And I do think that is going to be an important reminder for people. We remember what on the campaign trail he said, they broke it, I will fix it. He said that all the time with respect to Joe and Kamala. I think he needs to continue to remind people of that, but remind them while you are actually fixing it. And I think that that's going to be the key going into the midterms.
Yeah, it's like I shared with that coworker. This isn't your fault, but it's now your responsibility. Like, this isn't Trump's fault, but it is his responsibility, because I can tell you one thing that I learned in corporate America. Nobody cares what you did. They only care what you did for them lately. Yes. Right. And so he's now got to focus. And that's what they're saying is like, listen, going forward, our biggest focus is affordability. So, I'm encouraged that we are still heading in the right direction. I'm still encouraged that Kamala Harris is not the 47th president of the United States.
You and me both.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, if people want to catch you online, where can I point them towards?
Yes, yeah. So they can join us over at my YouTube channel, Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered, and then I'm all over social media: X, Instagram, Facebook. It's Sarah Gonzalez TX. I spell my name very difficult. Apparently, there's no H in Sarah. It's SARA, and it's Gonzalez with an S at the end. So Sarah Gonzalez TX. They can find me over there. But I'd love for them to join us. Watch my show Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on YouTube and Blaze TV.
All right. Well, I know they're going to like you. I like you, and not just because we have the same initials, but because you do good work. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. See you next time.